Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Work Well podcast. Today in the show, I'm delighted to welcome Hollen Spatz. Hollen is the VP of People and Operations at ClassPass. ClassPass is the world's largest fitness and wellness network. In her role, Hollen oversees the global HR, recruiting, and internal operations functions. In previous roles at ClassPass, Hollen was responsible for growing and scaling the customer experience team. Hollen brings more than 15 years of leadership experience in marketing and customer experience strategy. This episode is brought to you with thanks to the Fruit People. The Fruit People are leading the way in workplace nutrition, both in office and remotely. Check out thefruitpeople.ie for more. It's with thanks to the Fruit People, we have a delicious fresh fruit and healthy snack pack to give away to one lucky listener to this episode. To find out how to enter, go to workwellpodcast.com, find the link to this episode with Hollen, and you'll find the competition details at the bottom of the article. Now sit back and enjoy my chat with Hollen Spatz. Hollen, hello and welcome to the Work Well podcast.
Hi, Brian. So happy to be here.
A real pleasure to speak with you today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to chatting a bit about some of my favorite topics.
Fantastic. And how's life for you? How's work for you at the moment? You're in just outside New York City, I believe.
Yes, I am. It is, ever changing and evolving, but, seems pretty hopeful just for kind of days ahead and what it looks like in the future. So, every day is slightly unpredictable and uncertain, but we've all kind of gotten used to being quite agile at the moment.
Excellent. Yeah, there's positivity in the air, I think, isn't there? The vaccine is on the way. There's a lot of hope out there. So long may that continue.
Yes, exactly.
Tell me a little bit about your role at ClassPass. You manage a global team, as I understand it.
I do, yeah, happy to. So I am the VP of People and Operations at ClassPass. I work with teams across 30 different countries where ClassPass is currently operational. We're spread out over 5 continents. My team is focused on creating the optimal employee experience. So no matter where you are in the world, I want to ensure that you have a consistent experience with ClassPass, and we want to build a best-in-class experience. So from the moment that you are potentially looking at ClassPass as somewhere that you want to join until potentially, through your entire tenure at ClassPass. So really focused on the entire employee experience lifecycle overall.
For those that aren't familiar with ClassPass, it offers like access, if you like, to, let's say, to a local gym. And from a quick review on the website, I imagine you pivoted quite quickly then as well to online sessions.
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar, I'll give just a quick overview of what ClassPass is. So as you said, it's a membership. It connects you to the world's best workouts and wellness experiences. We have access to over 30,000 gyms and studios kind of worldwide, plus over 11,000 beauty and wellness experiences. It can all be booked via your account. And using ClassPass, you can book a class at a top studio near you. And then to your point, we definitely have a lot of live stream classes and digital content that's available. So you can do it on demand, in your living room, at home, wherever you are at this current moment, and kind of have that flexibility kind of post-pandemic as well. And then you have access to wellness activities. So anything from facials to manicures to haircuts, sports massages, all in kind of one membership with credits that we use for people to be able to have access to that.
Excellent. Sounds like a really real quality model. Talk to me about your own colleagues. Challenging time over the last 12 months for almost every organization. Have you been doing anything interesting to support your ClassPass colleagues? Any initiatives that stand out?
Yeah, there's definitely been a few, and there's been a number that we've learned from. And I just, even looking back, I can't believe kind of how long we've all been in this kind of moment of uncertainty, and so we have definitely iterated across the last year plus. And, for us, the biggest focus is truly talking to our teams and, my colleagues and peers and the employees in general to understand what they need at those specific moments in time. So, even looking back over the course of the year, and moving forward, the piece that we continue to lean on is flexibility. That's the thing that people need and want. And so maybe I'll just talk to a couple of initiatives or things we've been doing and what we've implemented, and potentially, what we continue to learn and why we iterate. But as I said, we started to survey our employees. We want to know what's working, what they need, where we can improve, what they need as a support system moving forward. And then really, how do they envision the future of the workplace, right? So we all kind of know what the workplace used to look like. And I think we all know that it's no longer going to look like that in the future. It's probably going to be a different version of that. So some of the biggest trends early on that we saw, when we originally went to remote, essentially overnight, we didn't know how long this was going to be. And so, quite quickly, we realized that employees needed better access to a budget to allow them to have at-home setups, right? So everyone, was trying to figure out, how do you work from a laptop for long periods of time, potentially on your couch or somewhere that isn't really set up or conducive to doing your best work. And so, to address this pain point, we granted everyone at-home office stipends. So, we kind of gave everyone a flat budget to say it can be used towards ergonomic chairs or, computer monitors, whatever is going to help them work best at home. And then we offer the same benefits to new hires, right? So not necessarily something we just do for current employees, but this is kind of the future for how we anticipate working. I think the other thing we really heard from employees is that they wanted clarity around work from home and how long it was going to last. And the hard part was just the uncertainty. And so the more we can do as an employer to try to create some level of certainty for all the uncertainty that was around, the better. So we pretty early on let people know that, we weren't going to require people to come back to the office for quite a while. Even then had a good amount of flexibility around that. So that people can plan for relocations, in partnership with our team, obviously, and for their own family needs, right? So some people potentially need to set themselves up for a school year and need to be in a particular place. And we wanted to take as much additional stress and anxiety off someone's plate as we could. And so we really tried to be mindful to do that. Because things are just so uncertain. And then the other thing is we really want it to be a consultative process for what the future of the workplace looks like. So we've created, committee internally where we're meeting on a pretty regular basis with employees from all over the company and getting their perspective and points of view, because each employee needs and wants something different at this exact moment in time. And so once again, the emphasis is on flexibility. No two employees potentially need or want the exact same thing at this moment. So what can we do as an employer to continue to create the right environment for them, the right amount of flexibility, whether that is redefining working hours so that you can homeschool in the morning, but then shift your schedule to later in the day, or providing just more options for what the future of the workplace could and should look like. So maybe it's a hybrid workplace where you come in a couple of days a week instead of needing to come in every day, or potentially you want to be fully remote. And so trying to have that process with our team, and we survey them quite regularly just to keep a pulse. Is this changing? Is this still what you want? And as of now, about 93% of employees feel supported by what we've done to date. And so we know, for us, that's what we continue to lean into. Another focal point for us has been around time off. So I don't know if you've kind of seen this trend, with some of the conversations you've had or just from your own personal experience, but, a few months into the pandemic, we realized that no one was taking vacation days, right? People were just working themselves around the clock. There was no space anymore between work and life. Everything was, connected even more so than it ever has been. And so, people were canceling trips because they couldn't travel. They postponed holidays. They weren't seeing people. So we really wanted to do what we could to try to help alleviate, what we think are some of the key things that lead to burnout. And so we created a culture where we really openly are encouraging managers to ensure they're looking at, PTO balances that team members have, encouraging maybe, their entire team to take a day off at the same time so that everyone has the ability to really disconnect and not feel as though, okay, all these things are moving along without me there. And then, inevitably that person ends up working because they have nothing else to do. And so over the holidays, we actually did a bunch of kind of bonus days where we had the entire company take time off at the same time so that we can really ensure that people were getting the rest they needed. And in really, got really positive feedback about that. And then, I'd say one of the other biggest trends has been around access to therapy and mental health resources. So we realized quite early on that was something we needed and wanted to provide for our employees. So we partnered with a company called BetterHelp to make sure that all employees have access to mental health resources. And so we kind of, as I said, continue to iterate, continue to listen to our employees. We want it to be a consultative process. And, last time we had surveyed our team, 90% of the team said that they effectively are able to work from home, and 82% said that they, are finding new routines and doing a better job of managing their work life based on kind of the changes we continue to make.
Excellent. So quite a few points there, I think, for the listeners to pick up on and learn from. The budget for the ergonomic office furniture, always a winner to kick things off, to support people in the beginning. I recently invested in a sit-stand desk, and it's probably been one of the best investments I've ever made. I'm a big fan.
Same.
Yeah. You made an excellent point around the certainty, uncertainty and certainty. I'm still seeing some organizations that are talking about, they're having weekly meetings about when can we move back to the office and updates on that. And that kind of weekly uncertainty is just breathing more and more confusion, stress amongst colleagues. I just found I think it's so unhelpful. And what you outlined there, just setting that certainty nice and early, setting a date in the future where you can relax, you can be flexible around it, and you can work towards it. It takes so much off the table and relieves so much stress for colleagues. So for any organization that can do that, I would highly recommend that also. I talk about this kind of 8-step framework for well-being program development, and you're touching on quite a few of them here already. I love the idea of the committee you established. I talk about gathering meaningful data. That's one of the steps. And you have a survey, quite a few surveys. You have then the well-being champions, I call them, or a committee, if you like, that are close to the employees. Again, another tool for gathering information. So all supporting you, informing you, and making it, as you say, a consultative process. So look, really, really interesting approach that I'd encourage others to take as well. So really well done on that. How are you finding the remote working now? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, you describe your ClassPass now as a remote first company. Is that something that has changed in the last 12 months, I'd imagine?
Yeah, so I think we definitely lean into remote. I don't know if we're fully remote first, but because we do have some physical office spaces throughout the world, and based on actually surveys from our employees, a large portion of them do want to go back to a physical office. So we know that that's always going to be a part of our culture, but at the same time, we know we're also going to kind of have a pretty distributed workforce. And so we we have some big offices. One of our biggest ones is actually in Missoula, Montana in the US. And it's definitely a benefit to those employees who do like to go into an office. And so we anticipate it will be one of the ways that people go back to work. But while our offices are closed, yeah, we've definitely shifted to a remote first structure. And there's a few things that have helped us to maintain our culture and keep informal conversations flowing between employees, because it's definitely something that has to be quite intentional, because so many of the things that you used to potentially take for granted when you saw someone in the office, it doesn't exist, right? You have to be really intentional about carving out the time and creating an opportunity to connect with someone that maybe you used to run into in the kitchen, and that's no longer going to be a thing. So there's a couple of things that we've done. So first, we use Slack quite heavily. For those that don't use it, essentially a chat room tool that allows employees to easily connect. We have channels that are, for ongoing projects and company announcements, just to keep clear lines of communication. We're a, incredibly transparent company. And we have a lot of social channels. So, anything from dog parents at ClassPass to bikers at ClassPass to, people that are foodies. And so trying to create fun, easy ways for people to connect, kind of, jump in and jump out of those channels as they make sense for them, determine kind of their own level of engagement. Secondly, our employee resource groups, our ERGs, have really been bolstered, I would say, kind of across the last year or so. So we have, a number of them that kind of bring different team members together. So we have, one focused around LGBTQ teammates. We have a Black Employee Network. We have one for ClassPass moms, women in engineering, women at ClassPass, kind of you name it. We have a number of those at the company, and these groups have budgets to organize events, potentially bring in speakers, their own meeting cadence, and then we also have a way for the leaders of those groups to get together often to determine kind of, okay, how can we work cross-functionally? Are there things that we can learn from one another? We have tried and iterated many different social events, and they have definitely changed over the last year or so. And I envision, for me, the big thing is we're going to constantly be iterating them, right? In some moments, maybe they work. Other times people, at the beginning of the pandemic, I would say there was an emphasis on Zoom happy hours, and then everyone realized how quickly Zoom fatigue hit. Like, oh, please, I can't be on Zoom another hour. Or as seasons changed, right? It was a little bit of like, I'd much rather go outside than be stuck inside on a Zoom again. And so, Zoom fatigue, obviously a real thing. But we've had social events. We've done virtual team workouts, right? We're a fitness company, so that's a way that we know when people are all together in person, they love doing that. They also love doing it virtually. It's different, gets people moving, keeps people accountable, brings people together. And we've done trivia, so some really great trivia that we've hosted. Once again, though, it needs to be the right moment, given that there's a lot of Zoom all the time. And then we also have kind of weekly conversation starters that we may do via Slack, just to have ongoing dialogue. So if you are longing for a connection for someone, if you want to foster one-on-one, you have the ability to do that. We lean into a program called Donut that does virtual coffees kind of at random one-on-one with people. So you have the ability to kind of pop in, pop out, be like, hi, I don't know if we've met. Like, you might have started in the last however long, which is just a nice way to meet people and talk about different things. And then let's see, I'd say, one thing that we've heard from our employees is that beyond playful events, people really want safe spaces to connect, right? This year has been incredibly trying. People are longing for deeper connections around the important social issues dominating their newsfeed, including race and social justice. So rather than shying away from these topics, we've really tried to lean in and invite guest speakers, activists, external experts to foster dialogue and help our teams to grow closer, and simultaneously give our teams tools and language to have these conversations in the workplace and beyond. And the result is that, whether our team is sweating, laughing, learning, they're doing it together and in a way that helps them feel connected from afar. So, I wouldn't say we're always doing it perfectly, but we're definitely trying to kind of listen and iterate and learn as we go.
Very good. Yeah. And so it sounds like lots of inclusive, a mix of inclusive activities lined up for colleagues to join if they wish. But you're absolutely right. It's important to kind of look for non-Zoom related activities as well. That's important, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of if people have the ability to do it, depending kind of where you are in the world and what your access is at the moment, but, trying to challenge yourself to do at least one meeting a day where it's like a walk and talk, and really connect, via phone, and just get out, walk, move, and try to figure out a way to just disconnect yourself from the computer.
It's a great point. And I invested in some nice kind of earbuds recently enough. So an old school phone call just while you're out for a walk.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's a little bit different. It mixes things up.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Who knew it would be just so wonderful and such a nice welcoming experience, but it's pretty great.
Exactly. And I guess in terms of the if you are looking for some kind of well-being classes, then it probably helps that you are ClassPass. You probably know a few people who could deliver an online workout or two. So I'm sure that helps also.
Yeah, it's been fun too. We've tapped into some of our employees. As you can imagine, some of our employees are involved. Maybe they themselves are, meditation coaches or fitness teachers in some aspect. And so we've had them lead things as well for the employees to bring people together, which has been really fun.
Excellent. A challenge I've seen some organizations struggling with, and maybe from a well-being perspective, is let's say when there's a global program which is developed and led from a certain country, at a local level, it can be hard to relate to the program and initiatives. Is this something you've encountered, and any advice for listeners on maybe how to address this? And I think you've probably touched on it already with the surveys, but any advice on top of that?
Yeah, so I guess there's a couple of things that come to mind. I mean, I think it's something that every company and organization needs to be really aware of and mindful of, because you can't build something for one office or one team. You need to really try to think of things from a global perspective, and the reality is you probably need to iterate things slightly to ensure that they work across different countries for employees. And once again, some may value different types of perks, more than another. And so, virtual workouts work really well, right? It's something that easily provides access to everyone, but obviously the time zone is really challenging. And so, we really ensure that we try to do our best to not do any and all of our team activities at a time where all of our colleagues in Asia are sleeping. So we try to kind of rotate through when we do times, doing multiple sessions, multiple offerings. We also are a culture of recording and trying to document as much as possible, just to ensure that people have the ability to listen to something on their own time if they weren't able to actually attend whatever it was live. Even our team meetings, we do monthly team meetings as a company, and we do them at, the same hour every single month that, touches as many employees as possible around the globe. But of course, there's some that we kind of see that their lights are off in the background and quite dark, or give them the opportunity to, encourage that team to all listen to the recording a couple hours later when they're up and, maybe they have a remote breakfast together and listen to it as a team. And then I think when we think about, rolling out benefits, we really have a goal always of, kind of ensuring that it's equitable and everyone has the opportunity to take advantage of those. And so once again, I talked a little bit about the recording. We also have an Ask Me Anything channel via Slack, which is like an ongoing dialogue with our leadership team. And so, have the ability to kind of, ask questions. So even if maybe you're not going to be able to attend a team meeting due to your time zone, you have the ability to see the answers either, recorded live or via kind of the thread that exists on the exact topic, because we don't want people feeling left out. When we think about rolling out resources to our team, we definitely, for us, it's important to ensure that they can build global offerings. So, BetterHelp is a good example of that. When we were looking for a partner, we wanted something that was not just in one particular country for a subset of our employees. We wanted something that everyone was going to be able to have the benefit around the world. So that was, a big reason why we picked that as our vendor that we used. And then I would say, kind of forward thinking, the thing that's on our mind often is we want to create essentially, a goal of mine and probably many leaders listening is almost in some ways to create kind of this cafeteria menu or a la carte menu of benefits that allows employees to really determine, what is the thing that they want to put maybe their bank of, kind of employee credits potentially towards that's most beneficial to them at their moment, right? In their life stage, because that changes. So, it might be that someone wants to put the most important benefit for them, depending on where they are, and it doesn't matter where they are in the world, but maybe it's access to more ClassPass credits, or, maybe at a different stage in life, it has to do with childcare. And so for us, that's kind of always going on in the background for me. What does the future of that look like? Because we as an employer, I think, do a good job of creating the right set of benefits globally, but at the same time, it feels like, you're always going to have employees that want other perks or value different perks for someone else. And so what does the future of that look like? And how can we try to understand how to continue to cater to our employees in that way?
It sounds like that rather than concentrating on the specific initiatives or interventions, you're actually more focused on creating a supportive, a healthy environment. And, almost like a bit like nudge theory, you're kind of empowering the individual then, depending on their circumstances, to make whatever choice they wish.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my ultimate goal. So it's kind of my North Star that I hope we get to one day, just based on, if we look at the research and in the surveys we continue to do, we know employees want and need flexibility. We know that everyone values something differently. We know that those values potentially change and change quickly and often due to their own circumstances. And, I would love to get to a place where we have the ability to kind of help them at each one of those moments and give them the ability to lean into that. So still a ways for us to go to get there, but that's kind of ultimately, what motivates me in the background.
Excellent. I love that, Jess. Aiming to make the healthy choice the easy choice over time. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Tell me, you've created, I guess, what you describe as a fair working environment for women at ClassPass. Can you share some of the initiatives you've put in place to ensure a well-balanced team?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So yeah, we're obviously pretty proud of our numbers overall. So 54% of our senior leaders at ClassPass are women, 30% of our board is female, and 18% of our team identifies as parents or legal guardians. Obviously, not necessarily kind of the stats that you always see kind of across the board at other companies. And so, we're quite proud of that. I would say, one of the things that we make sure always is that, women are considered in the conversation. And the first way to do that is ensuring they're there, right? And so, we do have quite a bit of women senior leaders and women throughout kind of all parts of the business. And we also have a lot of advocates, I would say, so in kind of allies for our women employees. And there's been a lot of really great wins that have come from having, women have voices at the company. So, we've increased our parental leave policies. We've invested in more resource groups and mentorship programs specifically for women. And I think some of this also just comes down to small gestures. So making sure we have comfortable nursing spaces in our offices for parents that need to take advantage of that or want to, and making people feel comfortable in our offices and let them know that we're thinking about them. I think that is incredibly important. And then just the review process. So we're kind of constantly evaluating and looking at what our makeup is, kind of across the board for our team.
Very good. Yeah, you're clearly an organization that likes to track numbers. You've mentioned quite a few. And that's just coming across loud and clear.
Definitely are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you don't measure something, you can't improve upon it.
Yeah, I think that, it definitely tells a good part of the story. It doesn't tell the whole story, but, for me, I think having a data point is always really directionally helpful in terms of, validation or understanding. It's easy for me to potentially say, like, I think this is important, but it's a lot better if I can say with more conviction, oh, I actually know this is important because I wasn't the one who necessarily is the only one thinking this, but our employees are the ones that have shared this feedback, and this is the right place for us to focus our efforts. And this, I think, will make the biggest impact on overall who we are as an employee.
Absolutely. Kind of on a related question, then we've quite a few recruiters and recruitment companies that would listen to the show.
Yeah.
How do you ensure through the hiring process that women are getting equal opportunities at ClassPass?
Yeah, sure. So, recruiters and hiring managers always need to be thinking about the voices they're missing. So not necessarily, just women, but ensuring that all voices and backgrounds are included in the process, and recognizing how important it is to have those voices in the room. So that's where true innovation and creativity is going to happen. So, we as a company over the past however many months, we have gone through some pretty extensive audits, and we have evaluated our recruiting and hiring practices to ensure that we're not only creating fair hiring processes, but we're getting our open roles in front of candidates from different backgrounds and we're sourcing, in different locations, and we want to demonstrate kind of what inclusion looks like at ClassPass. So one of the things I think I'm quite proud of the team that they've done recently is we revamped our About Us page on our website. And so, kind of front and center, we're talking about inclusion and why it's foundational, because, the last thing we want to do as an employer is to, attract candidates and tell them about how great, ClassPass is. And then they go to our website and they don't see something that looks very inclusive, right? If you don't see someone that looks like you, if you can't relate to kind of, the different work streams that are happening, or what the core values of the company are, it's probably where you're going to end the process. And so making sure that it's truly a 360, so that if someone were to come to our site, and as we continue to invest in different ways to bring on talent, we're also ensuring that future employees can have a sense of belonging and know what it would be like to work at ClassPass, and that would be exciting to them. So I think that's kind of a big step for us. And then I think, as a company in the space we're in our industry, we're always looking for ways to evaluate the voices of women. And we kind of like within the fitness and wellness industry. So for example, we now allow studio and spa owners to add a tag on their profile that highlights their business as a women-owned business. And we use this data to spotlight, their business through our blog and app and social channels. And we just believe that we have a responsibility to champion diversity in the wider industry. So not just within our organization. And the reason I think that's important for recruiters who are listening is, it's not simply getting someone in the door. It's truly understanding, well, what is it going to be like when I work there? And what does this company stand for, and how are they contributing not just within their own four walls, but beyond, for the causes that are, hopefully important to not only those individuals, but the company as well.
Excellent. Yeah. And I think we'll include a link to that About Us page in the show notes, because that sounds like a really good example of an inclusive About Us page that the listeners can learn from.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
The team has done a great job.
We'll certainly do that. We've focused quite a bit, Hollen, actually almost entirely on the organization, which is really interesting. You yourself, so you've got a busy role, clearly a busy schedule. How or do you manage to spend time on your own well-being at present?
Yeah, that's a great question. I make time for it. I think it is so important. So, beyond kind of the schedule at work, I am a mom to 3 teeny kids, all under the age of 6. So this year's definitely been a little bit of a balancing act. But lucky to have kind of a great partner in that. But every day is a little bit different in terms of homeschool and childcare, but it's important to block off time. So like for me, the big thing is I block off the times that are truly meant to disconnect and be with my family. And so I, have a public facing calendar that anyone can see, because I also want to encourage others that this is what they should be doing. And so kind of carve out the time and note quite clearly, I'm with my family, I'm kind of disconnecting, I'm going for a run, whatever the thing is that I need to do to focus on myself and my own well-being, so that when I show up, I'm truly showing up at work. And I also try to make a pretty big effort to disconnect as much as possible, on a Saturday or a Sunday, and same thing, right? It's like, I know I need that time to recharge. And so sometimes I remove my email from my phone. I mean, I have to like trick myself to ensure that I'm holding myself accountable, because it's quite easy to pick up your phone and just start, randomly looking at work, as we all know. So I do that, and I definitely advocate for anyone, whether you're a parent or not, anyone to kind of block the time off for their own personal well-being, whether it's a workout, meditation, go for a walk. It's just something that I think is so important, and to, leave the technology behind. I oftentimes will like put my phone in a totally different room when I am spending time with my family. And so I love seeing employees that continue to do this as well. So whether that's, them using their Slack updates to show the different things they're doing, right? Like, I'm offline and this is why. I just think, no matter what, it's absolutely critical for people to recharge.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And I can only imagine the challenges of three young children, the homeschooling work. I have one 6-year-old, and another one on the way, but that was challenging in and of itself. I can imagine multiplying that by 3.
It has been, but there's silver linings. There's a lot of great, there are some great silver linings, and I'm really lucky. My 6-year-old is at school most days, and now I have the ability to kind of carve out the time to bring her and to pick her up, which, I wouldn't have if I was in an office at this moment. So that is kind of, time that I hold really true. And I try to not adjust it and make exceptions, so that those around me think that they can kind of shift my calendar often. I said, no, this is absolutely precious time. I'm not going to shift it. And I try to make as few exceptions as possible.
It's really refreshing to hear you say, and other leaders, celebrate, if you like, downtime, family time, well-being time, and talk about it, promote it, amongst colleagues. It feels like we're a long way, or we're leaving behind that old school idea of, sleep is for wimps and overwork culture. It's more celebrating our downtime and our well-being, so we can, as you say, give more and be fully present when we are actually working. Yeah,
it's so important. I noticed just for myself, it makes a huge difference if I can figure out how to get a workout in for a bit, or even just as simple as a walk around the block. It kind of changes everything, and really provides that kind of what's needed in order to get through the day in a productive, healthy way.
It really does. Well, listen, Keep doing what you're doing. You're a great role model. Thank you so much for sharing so much with us today, Hollen. Where can people go to find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Yes. So you can go to the ClassPass site, classpass.com. We are hiring right now as well. So, we'll kind of use that as a plug. And as I said earlier, we kind of revamped our About Us page. So lots to see and learn about the company. And then, everyone's contact information is there as well. So thank you so much, Brian. I really, what a treat. This was really fun, and looking forward to hopefully talking again.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Hollen. We will include that link in the show notes. Thanks so much for your time. Stay safe, and we will speak with you again soon.
Thanks. Same to you, Brian.
Hello, everyone. Brian here again. A big thank you for listening right to the end of this episode of the Work Well podcast. I want to give a big shout out to our partners, the Fruit People, who are leading the way in workplace nutrition, both in office and remotely. You can check them out at thefruitpeople.ie. And it's with thanks to the Fruit People that we have a delicious fresh fruit and healthy snack pack to give away to one lucky listener for each episode of season 3. To find out how to enter, go to workwellpodcast.com and find the link to the latest podcast episode. Finally, are you interested in diving deeper in the area of workplace well-being? Why wouldn't you? You need to check out the Work Well Institute. The Work Well Institute is an online hub for all your workplace well-being, education, and training needs, whether you're an individual or an organization. Head on over to workwellinstitute.org, where you'll find out the details on all the courses available, including my flagship program, Developing a Workplace Wellness Program That Lasts. Check it out at workwellinstitute.org. Thanks again for listening. The original music for this podcast was composed by my friend Greg Clifford. Thank you, Greg. Remember to work well, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Work Well podcast.